You still keep this bracelet? A billionaire is stunned to see his ex-girlfriend during a charity trip in Africa. Hello everyone. Before we begin today's story, I have a small favor to ask. Please hit subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss our channel's new videos. It is quick, free, and the best way to support us in bringing you more dramatic stories like this one. Your support truly means the world to us. Where are you watching from today? Drop your city or country in the comments below. Thank you very much. Now, let us go back to our main character. The late afternoon sun hangs low over the dusty horizon, turning the sky a soft gold. The sound of children laughing drifts across the open yard of a small rural school in northern Kenya. A line of jeeps is parked nearby, their engines ticking as they cool, the logos of an international charity printed neatly on the doors. Daniel Carter steps down from the lead vehicle. His boots touch the red earth, and for a brief second, he forgets the cameras, the donors, the schedule packed down to the minute. He rolls up the sleeves of his crisp white shirt, the fabric already too clean for a place like this. Around him, staff members move with practiced efficiency, unloading boxes of supplies, setting up tables, greeting local teachers. To everyone here, Daniel is exactly what the itinerary says he is. A billionaire philanthropist, the founder of a global technology empire. The man whose donation made this entire trip possible. But as he scans the courtyard, his attention drifts, pulled by something he cannot quite name. Maybe it is the heat. Maybe it is the way this place feels strangely familiar, despite being half a world away from New York. Then he sees her. She is standing near the shade of an acacia tree, kneeling to speak to a little girl whose dress is a faded blue. Daniel cannot hear what she is saying, but he sees the way her hands move gently, the way the child's shoulders relax. There is kindness there. Real kindness. The kind that does not perform for anyone. Daniel's chest tightens. It cannot be her. He tells himself that immediately, firmly. Africa is a big continent. Charity trips attract people from everywhere. Faces overlap in memory all the time. But his feet slow anyway. His gaze stays locked where it should not. The woman stands up, brushing the dust from her jeans. She tucks a loose strand of hair behind her ear, an unconscious gesture Daniel has seen 1,000 times before, usually in the reflection of a cafe window or a bathroom mirror in a tiny apartment that smelled like old books and cheap coffee. 5 years ago, his breath catches. It is her, Emily. The name lands in his mind with the weight of something unfinished. The world around him fades, the voices of donors and coordinators dissolving into a dull hum. All he can see is the past crashing into the present, uninvited and undeniable. She looks different, thinner, maybe, stronger in a way that has nothing to do with muscle. Her clothes are simple, practical, no jewelry. Except for one thing. His eyes drop to her wrist. The bracelet. It is old. Faded leather, darkened by time. A small metal charm catches the sunlight as she moves. The same charm he bought at a street market years ago because it was all he could afford back then. $10. Maybe less. He remembers apologizing for it, laughing it off, promising that one day he would buy her something better. She told him she did not want better. She wanted that. Daniel swallows hard. His fingers curl slowly at his sides. He feels something shift inside his chest, something he thought success had buried for good. Across the yard, Emily turns, sensing a presence. Their eyes meet. For a heartbeat, neither of them moves. The air feels heavier, as if the heat has suddenly doubled. Recognition flickers across her face, followed quickly by disbelief. Her lips part, but no sound comes out. Daniel takes a step forward before he can stop himself. The billionaire, the keynote speaker, the man with everything, finds himself walking toward the one person he never truly left behind. Emily feels the moment stretch longer than it should. The laughter of children fades into the background, replaced by the low rush of blood in her ears. For a split second, she considers turning away, pretending she did not see him. That would be easier, safer, but her feet stay planted, as if the ground itself is holding her there. 5 years is a long time, long enough to build a life. Long enough to lose one. When she left New York, she promised herself she would not look back. Back then, Her world was small and fragile. A cramped apartment with thin walls. A second-hand couch with a broken leg propped up by old magazines. Mornings that started before sunrise, tying her hair back in the dark so she would not wake her roommate. Days spent rushing between two jobs, calculating tips in her head before they even hit her palm. She remembers the constant math of survival. Rent, groceries, bus fare, what could wait, and what could not. Daniel had been there during that time. Not as a billionaire, not as anyone important. Just a man trying to make something work while the world kept asking for more than either of them had to give. They used to talk about the future in pieces. Late at night, sitting on the fire escape, sharing cheap takeout and pretending the city lights were stars. He talked about technology, about ideas that sounded too big for their tiny kitchen. She talked about wanting to help people, even if she did not yet know how. They loved each other honestly, but honesty does not pay rent. When Daniel started working longer hours, when his phone never stopped buzzing, Emily told herself it was temporary. When he missed dinners, then birthdays, then important conversations, she told herself she understood. She had to. Understanding was cheaper than fighting. The night she left, she did not cry until the door was already closed behind her. She left the bracelet on her wrist, not because she forgot to take it off, but because she needed something solid to remind herself that love had been real, even if it was not enough. Africa had been her reset. After years of bouncing between non-profit work and underpaid contracts, she took the first volunteer assignment that promised distance. Not comfort, just distance. The work was hard, the heat relentless, the days long, but for the first time in years, her exhaustion felt honest. Here, no one asked her what she did for a living in polite conversation. No one measured her worth by her job title. Children took her hand without hesitation. Teachers thanked her with tired smiles and strong coffee. She slept under mosquito nets and woke up early, ready to be useful. Useful felt better than successful. Emily exhales slowly, grounding herself in the present. She is not the girl she used to be. She is not waiting tables or counting dollar bills at the end of a shift. She is here because she chose to be. Because she believes that helping, even in small ways, matters. Across the yard, Daniel has stopped walking. He looks different, taller somehow, broader. The years have settled on him with confidence instead of weight. He looks like someone who belongs anywhere he stands. The man she once knew had always been half elsewhere, half worried about what came next. This man looks like he already knows. A knot forms in her stomach. Of course he made it. Of course the world eventually bent in his favor. There is a bitter pride in that realization, mixed with something that still hurts if she looks at it too closely. She straightens her shoulders. Whatever he is now, whatever he has become, it does not change who she is. Emily turns back to the children, forcing a smile as one of the boys tugs gently at her sleeve, asking a question she only half hears. She answers anyway, her voice steady, practiced. This is her work, this is her life. But she can feel him approaching, even before she hears his footsteps on the dry earth. The past is no longer behind her. It is standing right in front of her, wearing a clean white shirt, expensive boots, and a name the whole world seems to know. And for the first time in years, Emily wonders which of them has really changed more. Daniel stops a few steps away from her. Up close, the years between them feel thinner, almost fragile. The same eyes, the same quiet intensity she once knew so well. But now there is polish layered over it. Control, the kind that comes from winning more times than losing. Emily keeps her hands busy, adjusting a stack of notebooks on the table beside her. She does not look at him right away. She does not trust her voice yet. Emily, Daniel says. Just her name. It lands softly, but it carries weight. She finally looks up. Yes? She answers, neutral, professional. The way she speaks to donors and coordinators. The way she has learned to speak to men who have power. For a moment, neither of them knows what comes next. I did not know you would be here, Daniel says. I did not know you were working with this organization. I did not know you were funding it, Emily replies. There is no accusation in her tone, just fact. Daniel nods once, accepting the unspoken distance between them. I try not to be too visible, he says. At least not at the start. Emily almost smiles at that. Almost. A group of children runs past them, kicking up dust, their laughter cutting through the tension. One of the girls waves at Emily, who lifts her hand in response without thinking. When she lowers it again, Daniel is looking at her wrist. The bracelet. He recognizes it instantly. The leather is worn smooth now, darker than it used to be. The small metal charm is scratched, dulled by years of use. But it is unmistakable. The same one he bought from a street vendor on a cold afternoon, counting bills twice before handing the money over. His breath slows. You still have it, he says quietly. Emily follows his gaze. Her fingers instinctively curl around the bracelet, thumb brushing the charm. For a second, she considers taking it off, hiding it, but she does not. Yes, she says, I do. There is a pause. A deep one. I thought you might have lost it, Daniel adds. Or replaced it. Emily meets his eyes. I never wanted to replace it. The words hang between them, heavier than either of them expected. Daniel looks away first. The memory hits him without warning. Emily laughing in their kitchen, holding out her wrist, pretending the bracelet was the most valuable thing she owned, telling him that it mattered because he chose it, because it came from him, not from a version of him he was still trying to become. Back then, he had promised her something. One day, when things were better, he would take her somewhere far away. Somewhere that mattered. Somewhere they could do something good together. He never did. I did not know you came all this way, he says, gesturing vaguely to the school, the village beyond it. This is important work. It is, Emily replies. And it is not about being seen. And quoters to what? Her tone is calm, but there is a boundary in it. One she has learned to draw carefully. A coordinator calls her name from across the yard, asking for help with supplies. Emily nods in acknowledgement, then looks back at Daniel. I should go, she says. Of course, he answers. Too quickly. She hesitates, then adds, we will be here all week. If you are around. Daniel nods. I am. As she walks away, Daniel watches the bracelet swing lightly at her wrist with every step. A small thing, easy to miss, but to him, it feels like a question he never answered. And for the first time since arriving, Daniel Carter realizes this trip may not be about charity at all. The next morning begins before sunrise. Emily is already awake, standing near a long wooden table as the sky slowly brightens from deep blue to pale orange. The air is cooler at this hour, the kind of cool that disappears quickly once the sun climbs higher. She sorts through boxes of donated supplies, checking lists, counting notebooks, making sure nothing is missing. Routine keeps her steady. By the time the first Jeep pulls into the yard, she has already helped set up a temporary classroom and organize the day's activities. Children gather in small clusters, their voices low and curious, watching the visitors arrive. Daniel steps out of a different vehicle this time. No entourage. No camera crew. Just him and a quiet staff member carrying a clipboard. Emily notices anyway. She always does. He is dressed more simply today. Neutral colors. No jacket. Still clean. Still unmistakably out of place, but less deliberate about it. Less armored. He approaches slowly, stopping a respectful distance away. Good morning, he says. Good morning, Emily replies, not looking up right away. For a moment, they stand side by side, both watching the children as they line up. The silence between them is no longer sharp. It is cautious, but breathable. You are good at this, Daniel says. They listen to you. Emily shrugs lightly. They are smart. They do most of the work themselves. A boy runs up, holding a broken pencil, his face serious. Emily kneels immediately, fixing it with practiced ease. Daniel watches, saying nothing, until the boy runs off again, smiling. You always had patience, Daniel says. Even when things were difficult. Have seen no. Emily straightens, dusting her hands on her jeans. You learn it when you do not have many choices. Daniel nods. He does not argue. He remembers too much to pretend otherwise. They walk together toward the water station, keeping their pace slow, unhurried. Around them, volunteers move in and out of the space. Busy, but not intrusive. To anyone watching, they look like colleagues. Familiar, but undefined. I did not know you stayed in this line of work, Daniel says carefully. I did not plan to, Emily answers. But plans change. She fills a cup, hands it to a child, then takes one for herself. Daniel does the same, copying her movements without thinking. I tried other things, she continues. Office jobs, temporary contracts. None of it felt right. This does. Daniel studies her face as she speaks. There is no bitterness in her voice. No need to justify. Just clarity. I used to think success would feel different, he says. Louder, maybe. He was not why. Emily glances at him. Does it? He pauses. Sometimes. Other times, it feels very quiet. She considers that, then nods once, as if it makes sense. They spend the next hour working side by side, passing out supplies, helping teachers organize lessons, listening more than talking. The ease surprises them both. It feels familiar, like muscle memory. At one point, Emily laughs at something a child says, a real laugh that catches her off guard. Daniel hears it and feels something loosen in his chest. For a moment, they are not who they have become. They are just two people sharing the same space again. When the sun climbs higher, Emily wipes her forehead with the back of her hand. Daniel notices her wince slightly as she shifts her wrist. Is your arm sore? He asks. A little, she admits. Nothing serious. He reaches into his bag and pulls out a small packet of medical tape, handing it to her without comment. She looks at it, surprised. You carry that? She asks. He smiles faintly. Old habits. She takes it, wrapping her wrist carefully. The bracelet shifts but stays in place. Thank you, she says. You are welcome. Their eyes meet again, softer this time. Somewhere between shared tasks and quiet conversations, something begins to settle. Not a reconciliation. Not yet. But a sense that this meeting was not an accident, and that neither of them is quite ready to walk away. By the third day, the rhythm between them no longer feels accidental. Morning work blends into afternoon heat, and Emily and Daniel find themselves moving in quiet coordination, anticipating each other without needing to ask. He lifts boxes before she reaches for them. She hands him supplies before he realizes he needs them. Small things? Easy things. Dangerous things. They sit together during a short break, perched on low stools near the edge of the yard. Children play nearby, their shadows stretching long across the ground. Emily takes a sip of water, staring out at the open field beyond the school. I used to imagine this differently, she says suddenly. Daniel turns slightly toward her. What do you mean? This? She gestures vaguely. Us talking again. I thought if it ever happened, it would be heavier, angrier. And it is not? He asks. It is quieter, she admits. That surprises me. Daniel nods. Me too. And discreet. He hesitates, then adds, I wondered if you would hate me. Emily considers the word. Hate. It feels too sharp for what she carries. I was angry, she says carefully. For a long time, not because you were ambitious, but because you stopped being present. I did not know where I fit anymore. Daniel looks down at his hands. I was afraid, he says. Afraid that if I slowed down, everything I was building would fall apart. I told myself it was temporary. End quote. It always is, Emily replies softly, until it is not. The words are not cruel. They are honest. Daniel absorbs them in silence. Later that afternoon, they walk together toward the edge of the village, where the noise fades and the land opens up. The heat presses down, but a light breeze moves through the tall grass. Emily explains the long-term goals of the program, how sustainability matters more than appearances. People come for photos, she says. Then they leave. We try to build something that stays. Daniel listens intently. I should have asked more questions before, he says. About what mattered to you. Emily stops walking and turns to face him. "You did not need to ask," she says. "You needed to listen." The truth lands between them, firm but not unkind. That evening, as the sky darkens and generators hum softly in the distance, Daniel finds himself restless. He watches Emily laugh with other volunteers, notices how easily she belongs here, how little she seems to need anyone's approval. It unsettles him. For the first time, he wonders if his success came at the cost of becoming someone she no longer recognizes. Later, when most of the volunteers have dispersed, they stand near the vehicles, the air cooling rapidly. Emily folds her arms loosely, the bracelet visible against her skin. "Why are you really here?" she asks him. Daniel does not answer immediately. "I tell myself it is about impact," he says finally. "And part of it is. But if I am honest, I am tired. Tired of rooms where everyone wants something from me." Emily studies his face. "And what do you want?" he exhales. "To know who I am without all of it." She nods slowly. "That is a hard question." "Yes," he agrees. "It is." They stand in silence, the weight of unspoken things pressing close. The ease between them is real now. So is the risk, because closeness brings memory. And memory brings pain. As Emily turns to leave, Daniel speaks again. "I never stopped thinking about you," he says quietly. She pauses, her back to him. "I know," she replies. "That does not mean you were there." She walks away before he can respond, leaving Daniel alone with a truth he can no longer ignore. This connection they are rebuilding feels real. But reality, he knows, is where things once fell apart. The reveal does not happen quietly. It happens under lights. On the fifth evening, the charity hosts a formal reception at a renovated community center on the edge of the nearest city. White fabric drapes the walls. Soft music hums through hidden speakers. Local leaders, international donors, and press representatives gather in carefully arranged rows of chairs. Emily almost does not go. She stands in her room, staring at the simple dress laid out on the bed. She tells herself she is only attending because the program coordinator asked her to help with translations and logistics, not because Daniel will be there. When she arrives, the room is already full. Conversations overlap in low, polite tones. Cameras flash intermittently. Emily keeps to the side, focused on her task, answering questions, guiding guests to their seats. She feels him before she sees him. Daniel enters from the opposite end of the room, flanked by board members and executives. Tonight, he does not blend in. The tailored suit, the confident stride, the way people turn toward him without realizing why. This is his world. Emily's stomach tightens. She watches as he shakes hands, exchanges brief words, smiles that do not quite reach his eyes. He looks composed, but she notices the tension in his shoulders, the way his gaze keeps drifting, searching. Then the host steps up to the microphone. "Ladies and gentlemen," the man says, his voice carrying easily, "thank you for joining us tonight to celebrate the future of this initiative. None of this would be possible without the extraordinary generosity and vision of one individual." Emily shifts her weight, already disengaging. "And now," the host continues, "please welcome the founder of Carter Global Technologies, our lead benefactor and partner in this mission, Mr. Daniel Carter." Impossible. Applause fills the room. Emily freezes. The name hits her like a physical blow. Her breath catches, sharp and shallow. She turns slowly, as if her body needs time to accept what her ears have already heard. Daniel steps onto the stage. The lights find him instantly. For a moment, he looks out over the crowd. Then, his eyes lock onto hers across the room. There is no escape in that look. No explanation. No distance left to hide behind. The applause continues, loud and relentless. Emily feels heat rise to her face. Embarrassment. Shock. Something dangerously close to humiliation. Every quiet conversation, every shared moment in the dust and heat. Reframed, recolored. He did not tell her. He did not correct her assumptions. He stands there now, powerful and undeniable, speaking about impact, about responsibility, about giving back. His words are polished, earned, applauded. Emily barely hears them. All she can think about is the bracelet on her wrist. How it suddenly feels visible. Exposed. Like proof of a version of herself that never belonged on a stage like this. When the speech ends, the room erupts again. People stand. Cameras flash. Daniel steps down, immediately surrounded. Emily turns away. She pushes through the crowd, her pulse pounding in her ears. The exit feels too far, the air too thick. She reaches the corridor outside just as her composure finally cracks. Emily, his voice stops her. She does not turn. I did not plan for you to find out like this, Daniel says, closer now. I wanted to tell you. When? She asks, finally facing him. Her voice is controlled, but tight. After I said something I could not take back? After you were sure I liked you without knowing who you really were? That was not fair, he says immediately. No, she replies. It was not. She gestures back toward the room. Do you have any idea how that felt? Standing there, realizing I was the only one who did not know, Daniel looks stricken. I never wanted to make you feel small. But you did, Emily says quietly. You always did, without meaning to. The words land hard. I am not angry because you are successful, she continues. I am angry because you took away my choice. Silence stretches between them. Daniel opens his mouth, then closes it again. For the first time since she has known him, he does not have an answer ready. Emily steps back, her hand tightening around the bracelet. This was a mistake, she says. Seeing you again, forgetting who we are now. She turns and walks away, leaving Daniel alone in the hallway, surrounded by the echo of applause that suddenly sounds like judgment. The reveal is complete, and everything that felt easy before now feels impossible. The days that follow feel fractured. Emily avoids the main courtyard whenever Daniel is there. She shifts her schedule, volunteers for supply runs, spends more time with the teachers in nearby villages. Anything to keep distance. Anything to regain the balance she lost in that hallway. Word travels fast. People do not say anything directly to her, but she feels the change. The subtle recalibration once others realize she knows him, or worse, once they assume she must have always known. She hates that most of all. One afternoon, as she organizes books inside a classroom, a fellow volunteer mentions Daniel's name casually, praising his speech, his generosity. Emily nods, keeping her expression neutral, but inside, something twists. She did not want to be part of his narrative. She wanted her work to stand on its own. Outside, Daniel watches from a distance, acutely aware of the space she has put between them. He does not blame her. If anything, the silence feels deserved. He replays the reveal over and over in his mind, recognizing every moment he could have chosen differently. He chose convenience instead. On the third day after the reception, he finally approaches her again. It is late afternoon, the sun already dipping lower, casting long shadows across the ground. Emily is loading boxes into a storage shed when she hears his footsteps behind her. You do not have to leave, he says quietly. I will. She pauses, then straightens. This is not about territory, Daniel. I know, he replies. It is about trust. And I broke it. She turns to face him, exhaustion evident now, no longer hidden behind professionalism. You did not just break it, she says. You reminded me why I left. The words cut deeper than anger would have. I spent years rebuilding myself, she continues. Learning how to exist without measuring my value against someone else's ambition. And then you showed up, and for a moment, I forgot how hard that work was. Daniel listens, jaw tight, eyes steady. I never wanted you to feel smaller around me, he says. And yet I did, Emily answers. Again, silence settles between them, heavy and unavoidable. I am not asking for forgiveness, Daniel says finally. I am asking for the chance to do this differently. Emily shakes her head slowly. You always say that, and you always mean it. But meaning it has never been the problem. She picks up the last box, setting it inside the shed with care. When she turns back, her voice is quieter. I cannot be the person you come to when you are tired of your world. I have my own. Mighty medics, I have my own. Daniel exhales, the truth of it landing hard. I understand, he says. And for the first time, he does. That evening, Emily sits alone near the edge of the village, watching the sky fade into deep blue. The bracelet rests against her wrist, familiar and heavy. She considers taking it off, ending the story cleanly. But she does not. Across the camp, Daniel makes a decision of his own. He cancels meetings, rewrites plans, not as a gesture, but as a correction. For once, he chooses discomfort over control. Neither of them knows what comes next. All they know is that the space between them now carries the weight of everything unsaid, and that whatever happens, it cannot be built on half-truths again. The next morning, Emily notices the change before anyone says a word. The schedule has been altered. Meetings canceled. The usual stream of executives and media representatives does not arrive. Instead, Daniel is already in the yard when she steps outside, sleeves rolled up, hands dusty, helping unload a truck filled with water filters. No cameras, no speeches, just work. She watches from a distance, unsure what to make of it. He does not look toward her. He does not try to explain. He simply stays, lifting, listening, following instructions from local staff without hesitation. Hours pass. Daniel joins a group repairing a broken pump near the edge of the village. He kneels in the dirt, sweating under the sun, asking questions, making mistakes, correcting them. When a tool breaks, he waits patiently instead of calling for someone else to solve it. Emily feels something shift. Not hope. Not yet. Recognition. That afternoon, she finds a folded paper on her work table. No name on it. Just coordinates and a time, written in familiar handwriting. Sunset. By the old acacia tree. She considers ignoring it, but when the sky begins to soften and the heat eases, she finds herself walking anyway. Daniel is already there, standing alone. No suit, no staff. Just him. I did not want to speak to you in a hallway again, he says when she approaches. Or ask for forgiveness with an audience. Emily crosses her arms, guarded but present. I looked into the program more deeply, Daniel continues. Not the numbers. The people. What you have been trying to build. He hands her a thin folder. Inside are documents. Not contracts in his name. Not plaques. Instead, a trust agreement transferring long-term ownership of the project to a local board. Guaranteed funding for 10 years. Emily scans the pages, her breath slowing. This does not put you in charge, she says carefully. No, Daniel replies, it takes me out of the center. She looks up, searching his face. Why? Because I finally understand what you meant, he says. He hesitates, then adds, and because I never want you to feel like you owe me for believing in you. Duan. Silence stretches between them, filled with the sound of wind moving through the grass. Daniel reaches into his pocket and pulls out something small. The matching charm to her bracelet, attached to a simple leather cord. Older, less worn. I kept it, he says. All these years. Not as a promise, as a reminder of who I was when I cared without calculation. He holds it out, not asking her to take it. Emily's throat tightens. You did not do this for me, she says. No, Daniel answers. I did it because it is right. Whether you forgive me or not, that matters. She steps closer, close enough to see the uncertainty he is no longer hiding. Slowly, she lifts her wrist, the bracelet catching the last light of day. You finally learned, she says quietly, that love is not proven by success. Daniel nods. It is proven by presence. She does not embrace him. She does not promise anything. But she reaches out and closes his fingers gently around the charm. Stay, she says. Not as a donor. As a person. The sun dips below the horizon, leaving them standing together in the fading light. Not healed. Not finished. But finally aligned. The final morning arrives quietly. No announcements. No packed schedule. Just sunlight spilling across the yard as children gather for class, their voices light and unburdened. The project has taken root now, no longer dependent on any one person. Teachers lead. Volunteers move with confidence. The work continues. Emily stands near the edge of the courtyard, watching it all with a sense of calm she has not felt in years. Daniel joins her, careful not to interrupt the moment. He has stayed, not as a guest of honor, not as a benefactor passing through. He eats the same food, wakes early, listens more than he speaks. When he is asked who he is, he answers simply, "I am here to help." Emily notices the way people respond to that, not with awe, with acceptance. Later that afternoon, as the volunteers begin to say their goodbyes, Daniel helps load the last truck. When he turns back, Emily is waiting near the acacia tree where they spoke days earlier. "I am leaving with the team tomorrow," she says, "but I will be back. This place is home now, in a way." Daniel nods. "I know." She studies him for a long moment, then asks the question she has been holding back. "And you?" "I will return," he says. "But not to disappear into my world again. I have already started shifting things. Delegating. Stepping back where I should have done so years ago." Emily raises an eyebrow. "That is not a small promise." "I am not making it lightly," Daniel replies. "I finally understand that leadership is not about control. It is about trust." She looks down at her wrist, where the bracelet rests beside the matching charm he now wears. Two separate pieces. Still independent. Still connected. "I am not asking to go back," Emily says. "What we were belonged to. Another time." Daniel accepts that, without resistance. "I do not want to go back," he says. "I want to go forward. Honestly, slowly, if you ever choose to walk with me." She meets his eyes. This time, she says, there are conditions. A small smile touches his lips. "I would expect nothing less. No secrets," Emily continues. "No half-truths. No disappearing when things get difficult." "I agree," Daniel says immediately. "And I do not belong to your life," she adds. "I have my own." "I know," he says. "And I respect it." The words matter because they are not followed by persuasion. Emily exhales, something inside her finally releasing. She reaches out, not in desperation, but in choice, and takes his hand. "Then we can see," she says. One step at a time. Daniel's grip is steady, present, unafraid of the pace. As the sun lowers, casting long shadows across the ground, they walk back toward the village together. Not as a billionaire and a volunteer, not as a mistake waiting to repeat itself, but as two people who have learned that love without honesty is fragile. That power without humility is empty. That real commitment is shown through action, not status. The bracelet catches the light one last time, no longer a reminder of what was lost, but of what was chosen. Sometimes, the greatest mistake is not the one that brings two people together. It is the one that teaches them how to stay.